Here in Snoqualmie, and I am here today to talk with you about anxiety, depression, and I'm hoping that I can give you a crash course in how to do cognitive behavioral therapy on yourself. I want to start out though by saying if you are feeling a shift recently, like in the last week, and you feel worse than you are not alone. I talk to about 30 people a week, and there's definitely been trends. In the beginning, people were very, very worried about finances and the stock market and their income. And then after that, people were worried about getting sick and their older relatives getting sick. And now everybody just seems to be cranky. Depression is starting to set in, unfortunately. And so if you're feeling that and you're feeling extra frustrated and you're fighting with people in your house, you are normal and you are not alone. Okay? This has kind of been where we are right now. What you see on your screen is Nicole Russo and I have started Harmony Ridge for coaching and counseling. And our original launch date was July 25th, Pineapple Paradise. But because of everything that's going on, we thought we'd roll out some of our services for free during our lockdown time because people need it. So at the end of this, I'm going to show you a screen with our website and my email, and you can get in touch with me if you have any questions. The one thing I do want to mention is we have a new teen coaching program, which is awesome. We have a wonderful staff of young adults who are ready to go and trained in evidence-based strategies to help teenagers set goals, find a pathway forward toward those goals, and also avoid the pitfalls like drugs, alcohol, etc. So we do have a waiting list already. If you are interested or even think you may be interested, go to the website, fill out the little form, and just say interested in teen coaching, and then I'll get back to you. That will secure your spot on the waiting list, and if you decide you don't want to use it, that's fine, but it'll hold your place. Okay, first, let's go with anxiety. There is something called availability bias. And all that means is that the last thing that you saw or heard is the thing that your head attaches to and that your emotions attach to. And if that thing is something scary, then that's how you're going to feel. So, with that in mind, of course we're all anxious. Every time you turn on the television, if you can't get Netflix up really quickly, you're going to see something about COVID. So it's because it's everywhere. It's on the radio, it's on TV, it's on people's lips, it's on Facebook. So the fact that you're anxious means you're normal. Let's see if I can do this. Yay, I did it. Okay, so ideas for managing this anxiety. I'm going to go through all of these and then I'm going to talk about the green one in depth. The first thing, if you ever went to a therapist with anxiety, one of the first things that they're going to recommend, if they have any skill at all, is for you to have a regular schedule every day. Get up, make your bed, shower, breakfast, and then if you're working, obviously that's going to be in there. If you have kids that have schoolwork, that's going to be in there. But try and make it as routine as possible and try and stick to it. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it will reduce everybody in your house's anxiety. The next one is a little odd. Talk about everything but anxiety. So the interesting thing is anxiety is different than depression or mood swings in that most of the time talking about these things helps. Anxiety, it does not help to talk about it. In fact, the more you talk about it, the more power it has. So try really hard when you're feeling anxious to just keep it to yourself. Don't tell your spouse about it. Don't talk to your kids about it. Don't call a friend. See if you can get through it without discussion. Take a news break. Back to that availability bias thing. If you can manage it, just don't watch the news at all anymore. Anything that's important, you're going to hear. If you are a news junkie and you can't do that, then maybe try one day, or maybe on the weekends turn it off. But you have to get away from it. And you have to make sure your kids get away from it. Anybody under 10, the news is really scary for them. Even if they're really smart and mature, it's really scary. Help others. This is something, if you do have children, you can do as a family. The more you do for other people, the less you're thinking about yourself and how you're feeling, and the less in your head you are. So one of the ideas that a 6-year-old gave me is she's making cards and sending them to all of her relatives that are out of state because she's worried about them and she can't see them, and this is a way to connect. It's also something for her to do, and it helped a lot. So figure out a way that your family can help somebody else, whether it's going out and delivering food, or doing craft projects at home, or making a thank you video for healthcare workers. There are lots of ideas. So that will ease your anxiety as well. The next one, the green one, family meetings. So let's pretend the world is normal for a second. Family meetings are a great idea no matter what's going on. In normal times, most people that do them once a week. And there's a format. It's kind of fun if you have kids to take turns opening the meeting and going over the agenda. The first thing that should happen is everybody goes around and says something positive. It can be really simple. Thanks for dinner. I really had a good day today. I got a good grade on my test. Work's going really well. I like that it's sunny out. It can be anything, but something uplifting. After that, everybody gets an opportunity to talk about how they feel, whether it's good, bad, otherwise just talk. Parents, do more listening than talking. This is also an opportunity in regular times, especially, to talk about any problems that are going on in your house. If you need a behavior change from some of your kids, or you would like them to do more chores, it is also a forum for your kids to ask for more privileges. Hey, can you consider a later curfew? These types of things can be talked about at these meetings. And if you have one every week and your kids know there's a meeting coming up, then it makes it easier for them to hold on to some of that stuff that feels kind of naggy. And it also helps you know you are going to have an opportunity to talk to your children about whatever it is that you need to talk to them about. So it brings everybody's anxiety down all week because they know this is coming up and it's there for them. It's a little awkward in the beginning, so be patient. But if you can get it in as a part of your regular routine, way past pandemic, you're going to be glad you did. It's a great way, especially if you have teenagers, young teenagers in a house. If they've been doing this for a while, it makes it very easy to have some of those tough conversations. If it's just you and your significant other, you can still do this. They call that the State of the Union conversation. And obviously it doesn't work the same way. It's a lot less formal, and it's more about how are we doing? What do you need from me? What do I need from you? And just kind of assessing where you are. Always a good idea. Again, weekly. In pandemic world, you may want to do these things a little more often, but in general, weekly. And the last thing, and the most important thing, do not let anxiety stop you. If anxiety stops you, anxiety wins. So for example, if you are afraid to go to Safeway and you decide not to go to Safeway because you're afraid, then anxiety wins and you lose. Try very hard to push through the fear and do what you need to do anyway. I don't mean go to Safeway and not be safe, obviously. And there are a lot of things that kind of are scary right now. push through it. You'll be glad you did. It'll be hard, but you'll be glad you did. So that's basically anxiety. The only other thing, and this is really huge, we become anxious about things we cannot control. And that's the problem right now. There is basically very little that we can control. So sitting down and making a list of what's going on and what you do have control over and what you don't have control over can be helpful. It can also be a pretty good family activity to do. If your kids are really freaking out, that can help them too. You cannot control so many things, but you can control how you talk to each other, whether you wash your hands or not, where you go, how close to other people you get. So remind them that there are some things they can control, and remind yourself of that too. So, depression. I started out by saying a lot of people are becoming depressed. On your screen are some typical signs of depression, and as therapists, these are the things that we'll ask you about. There are obviously more than just these, but these are good examples. Changes in your eating or sleeping, and that means eating a lot or a little, sleeping a lot or a little. Crying spells, obviously. Feelings of hopelessness, feelings of guilt, angry outbursts, fatigue. The big one is the bottom one, lack of enjoyment for things you've always enjoyed. So for example, if you love riding your bicycle and you just don't feel like it anymore, that's a sign that depression is setting in. And when that happens, that kind of tells us you need some help. So that is the main one on there. And of course, we're all feeling a lot of this a lot of the time. If you have a day where this is going on, it doesn't mean you have depression. If you have 3 months of this and nothing else, then that means you need some help. But right now, we're all feeling it. And part of the reason is this. We are being forced to live as if we're depressed. There's a thing called behavioral activation, and depression can feel a lot like pushing a boulder uphill, where you make a little bit of progress and then it rolls right back down, and you get discouraged and you don't really even feel like working on it anymore. You need a fulcrum. What is the fulcrum in this case? It is what you do. So the recommendation is do things a depressed person would never do. And normally we have lots of choices, but now not so much. So just in case you need some suggestions, normal things that non-depressed people do: exercise, eat healthy, socialize with friends, go outside, play, start a fun project, explore a new hobby, or learn, practice something new, take a class. All of those are things that normal, happy people do. And even if you are currently a normal, happy person, you can exercise, but your yoga studio is not open, and you can eat healthy, but you have to plan really carefully because going to the grocery store is a little bit different than it used to be. Socializing, Zoom happy hours are okay, not the same thing as going out with your friends. Same thing with everything else. We are so restricted right now that we're having a really hard time, even if we want to engage in really healthy activities that keep us from being depressed. Here are some things that depressed people do. They lay around, they eat a lot of sugar, carbs, watch a ton of Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, news, play video games for hours and hours and hours, avoiding calls from friends. I thought that icon was hilarious because phones don't look like that anymore, but it's all they had. And binging on depressing news. That's never a good idea. So these are things that would be don't do's. Now, we all do this a little bit, obviously, and that's fine. But if you find yourself doing it all the time, that's going to push you further and further down the rabbit hole of depression. So you want to carefully balance, and you need to be a little more creative than usual. Make decisions. about doing things that aren't depressed things. You have to do it consciously because the natural rhythm of your life has been interrupted in a pretty extreme way. It's interesting. I started thinking about this, about myself, when I read that Walmart is running out of clothing, but only tops. You might have read that too. They have plenty of pants because apparently we're all sitting around in sweats, or no pants at all maybe. But that made me think about how different just going through the regular day is, and how we're letting things go because they don't matter. But they do matter, really. A good example of that would be making your bed. I make my bed every morning. I haven't been. And that's when I started thinking, this is not a good sign. Not that making your bed is a giant deal, but if it is something you've always done and suddenly your room's a mess, that's a sign, depression. So just be on the lookout for that. As far as your children are concerned, if they're scared or sad, let them talk to you. Tell them it's okay. Tell them it's normal. Talk to them about being brave, especially if you've got little ones. Being brave doesn't mean not scared. It means doing things anyway, even though you are scared. Some of the little ones, by the way, it's really fun doing a remote session with a 6-year-old. Doesn't last very long. But they really like new words like nervous and brave, nerve brave, or scared and brave, scare brave. That tends to make them giggle and be creative and have them do those cards and crafts and things for other people. That will get them out of their head. Okay, so here's the big stuff. CBT. CBT is the gold standard of therapy and has been for a long time, and that stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. And basically there's 4 steps there, and you can see them. Before I get into that, I just want to tell you about the ABCs because I think it's an easy way to remember what this is all about. A stands for activating event. So basically that's the thing that happens. The pandemic is an activating event. B stands for your belief system, and C stands for the consequence. Activating event, belief, consequence. The consequence is how you feel, the choices you make, what you say, what you do. So something happens, you react. But the thing that happens goes all the way through this belief filter. So your belief system can either make you feel better or worse, depending on what that system looks like. And in general, the closer your belief system is to reality, the better off you're going to be. You're going to feel better, you're going to act better, and you're going to get better results. So it's all about the B. Know thyself. So know where your beliefs go off kilter. No matter how well our parents raised us, we all have some distorted ideas about reality. Therapists call that core beliefs. And you believe a core belief as strongly as you believe anything else. Even though logically there's no evidence for this, you still believe it. It's very hardwired in you. I'm going to flash up a few examples in a minute. It doesn't matter what I say. If you believe that you are worthless, I can't stop you from thinking you're worthless. I can't give you evidence to show you that you're not worthless. It's still going to be there. That's why it's called a core belief. So keep that in mind. You cannot get rid of these at all. Here's some examples. These are the ones I go through with clients, usually on my second session after I get to know them a little bit. The first one's easy because these people do not seek therapy. So I know the person in my office does not have this. Narcissism. I don't mean narcissistic characteristics or compensating and bragging because you don't feel good about yourself. I'm talking true, honest, diagnosable narcissism. Narcissists believe that they are better than everyone else, and that is a core belief. If you know any, you notice it right away. Now, keep in mind, I'm giving you extreme examples of the rest just to really illustrate what they are. It's a continuum. You don't need to be an extreme, but it helps just for understanding. Self-loathing. That's the opposite of narcissism. That is where you just feel unworthy. Whether it's like big time, serious, I hate myself so much I'm going to shoot up with heroin, or I don't think I can do anything well, so I'm not really going to try. This can be debilitating, or it can just be problematic, depending on its severity. But it is definitely a core belief for a lot of us. We are not worthy, or we are not capable. The next one is perfectionism, kind of the opposite. Everything has to be perfect. Everything. And if it's not perfect, I'm a failure, period. These people tend to be pretty successful, but they also tend to be pretty stressed out. A close cousin of that one is always looking for something better. So I did a really good job getting that promotion. When is my next promotion? Or look how pretty this room turned out. I think we need to paint. So also, these people usually are pretty successful, but they're generally not satisfied because you can always do a little better. A lot of times for adults that deal with this, their history is a parent or a caregiver just was never happy with what they did and was always looking for B+ to be an A+, that type of thing. People pleaser. This is my personal favorite. These people want everybody to like them, everybody to be happy, and they hate conflict. And if everybody isn't okay, they don't feel okay. Obviously, it is impossible to make everybody in the world love you. That's why it's irrational. And people waste a lot of emotional energy trying to make that happen. So that's a tough one. And then the last one that's up here is excessive need for control. And that doesn't mean you're a control freak where you have to control other people. It just means you want your world to be controlled. You like to know what's happening. You're a planner. You usually are orderly. Your desk is nice and neat. Also, usually pretty successful because if you're trying to control a lot of things, you're working really hard at it. And right now, with the pandemic, you can't control anything. So this situation is especially hard on you if you relate to that one. So take a look at that list. Most people that I work with definitely can find one that resonates, and usually a second one that kind of resonates. So pick your poison there. That's you. That's in there. And that's not going away. So no matter what you do, you're not going to get rid of it. Accept it. Know thyself, observe thyself, accept thyself. It is who you are. Once you accept that, you can move forward. Okay, observing thyself. Next one. We all have voices in our head. You don't have to be schizophrenic. You have a voice, and it's talking to you all the time. I like to refer to that voice as your inner roommate. You have a person in your head whose only goal is to make you feel like crap. So think about this for a second. If you actually had a roommate that was next to you all the time, telling you terrible things all of the time, you know you'd want to punch him in the face, and you would not be able to focus very well on anything, and it would be very hard to be happy. Well, you do. They're just invisible, and they're in here. Up on the screen, I have some things that they may be saying to you. These are just common ones. They're going to figure out that you're a fraud. No matter how good you are at your job, there's a voice in your head saying, they're going to notice that you're not as good as you think you are, or as that we think you are. That's very common, especially for women. No one actually likes you. They're going to be disappointed in you. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be better. It needs to be different. It's not good enough. It's not okay. You need to be perfect. You need to be better. You need to be different. And the last one, something is wrong with me. These are just examples, but they're common. That's why I picked them. So whatever your core belief is, whichever one is yours, you're talking to yourself and telling you how true it really is. So what you can do for yourself is pay attention to what your head is saying to you. So, and it's kind of easy because you have a warning. Once you start feeling that anxiety or that anger or that miserable feeling rising up in you, it's a sign. It's just a ding dong, hello, something's going through your head. So when you feel it, instead of just wallowing in it, stop, pay attention. What am I thinking right now? I'm thinking she doesn't like me. That's why I feel like this. Or I'm thinking that this presentation that I'm doing is sucking, and you're all thinking I'm an idiot. Something's wrong with me. I'm the only person that feels like this is the worst thing ever. These are the things that go through our heads. Pay attention to yours. I would even suggest writing them down. You are going to find at least two, as many as 5 or 6 sentences that your inner roommate says to you all day long. And anytime I have someone do this, they are always shocked at how often it happens. Some people like to name their inner roommate. Some people like to draw pictures of what they probably look like. If you get to know what they're going to say to you, then you can predict what they're going to say to you, right? Oops, sorry. So observe it. And here's the cool thing about the brain. You have a feeling. Your brain's talking to you. If you stop and think, okay, what is my head saying to me? Okay, there it is. That matches my need for control. You know what you've just done right there? You have taken your subconscious and pulled it into the conscious. And now you're logically looking at it. And that all by itself makes you feel better. It weakens the strength of that belief because you're actually thinking logically. Accepting it. That's the hard part. A lot of people talk about affirmations and positive statements, and that's all good and all helpful. But at the end of the day, accept that this is your thing, this is your roommate, not going away, and you need to get to know him, and you need to stop being upset by him. Make friends with this person in your head. You may as well, you're stuck with them. So, here's an example. Interaction, that would be the activating event. My feeling, oh my gosh, I said something wrong, they don't like me. There it is. Yup. Is there anything else that goes with that? Oh yeah, they think I'm ugly. Oh, they think I'm too old. What else? Anything else? Okay, are you done now? Cool. Thank you for the input. Now, I'm going to make a conscious, purposeful choice about whether I'm going to let that get to me or whether I'm going to blow it off. If you practice this within a month, you are going to have an amazing amount of control over how you feel. Know who you are, know what happens in your head, accept that it's there, stop fist fighting with it, it just gives it power. Roll your eyes when it starts happening Yeah. They don't like me. You tell me that about everybody. And then you get to make a decision. And that decision may be to just feel like crap and go cry. That's okay. But you can also make a different decision. You can decide, I think I'm going to let that bother me for about 10 minutes. And because I know it's just stupid roommate stuff, I'm going to set it aside. You get to pick. And when you get to pick, you feel powerful. And when you feel powerful, you feel less anxious and you feel less depressed. This is CBT. It's the core of CBT. Of course, there's lots of other parts to it and lots of other things you can do with it, but this is the core. Figure out what your stuff is. Pay attention to how it affects you and what it does. Accept that it's you. And then make decisions based on all of that you know. Do not yell back at the voice. Yes, they do like me. The voice will win every time. Just say, yeah, you don't think anybody likes me. Bite me. And then move forward. CBT. You can do it at home. We are going to be okay. We really are. We're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to take care of our family. And we're going to take care of our community. And we're going to be okay. Ooh. Okay, that didn't go well. But here's my final statement. You don't know what other people are going through. You don't know how hard things are for the person that lives next door to you. Or maybe you do, but you don't really. And just because someone looks like they're okay doesn't mean they are. And if someone posts something on Facebook that you don't like, it's probably best to just scroll on by rather than to make a nasty comment. Those nasty comments have a lot of power. And we make them, and then we turn it off, and we walk away. And we don't know what we've done. And it doesn't help. It doesn't fix anything. We don't learn from it. People we're talking to don't learn from it. It's a waste of time. Lead with compassion. Your neighbor can look like this and feel like that. And I guess it may be kind of cool that that showed up earlier because of my lack of PowerPoint skills. Power of community to create health is far greater than any physician, clinic, or hospital. We have the power. We have the power right here, right now, together. And we're all going to be okay. And up here is our website. And beneath it is my email. And I'm here. If you guys have any questions, thanks for listening.